Picture this, rock stars. In the euphoric moment of seeing your paycheck hit your bank account, you envision a world filled with possibilities. The new phone you have had your eyes on to purchase. The friends that you would like to have a night out with at a fancy restaurant. Or finally, booking that weekend getaway. But within what feels like just mere moments, you find your account dwindling and your wallet emptying, overtaken by bills, debts, and impromptu expenses. The daunting reality of being broke on payday leaves you feeling anxious, hopeless, and worried. If you find yourself trapped in this relentless cycle, wondering where your hard-earned money vanished, rockstars, you're not alone. According to a survey done by CNBC in 2021, 61% of Americans reported living from paycheck to paycheck, and America is a first world nation. Can you imagine what the statistics look like across other countries throughout the region? But what if there was a way to break free from these financial shackles? Well, you know what, rock stars? You have taken the first bold step by hitting play when you saw that thumbnail, because you have acknowledged that you need a change. With that out of the way, let's take the next steps together with a practical step-by-step guide to allocate your pay effectively and to start building wealth. Welcome back to the Rockstar Academy, where our mission is to change lives by changing mindset. Thank you for your loyalty and for always returning, Rockstars. And to our Patreon subscribers and club members, big up on yourself. Actually, this video idea came from a club member, so thank you. You know yourself. Let's jump right into it. Now, recognizing that you're always broke on payday is only step one. Step two is you need to identify the root cause. Why are you always broke, especially on payday? It may be because you're in denial about your actual spending, or you're living beyond your means and consistently spending more than you're earning. It could be that you're not budgeting, because without a clear plan for your money, it's very easy to overspend or misallocate your funds. Or it could be that you keep making impulsive purchases. You could have high debt levels as well, or you may not have any financial goals, and without clear objectives, especially related to how you spend that paycheck, it's going to be very hard for you to make informed decisions about your spending. Whatever the reason, I don't want you to be too hard on yourself, because at some point, most of us have been there. The fact that you're watching this video, it means you're ready for a change. So that said, here are 10 steps that you can take to allocate your pay better, to stop being broke on payday on your path to achieving financial independence. Now, step one is to know where your money is going and to understand your expenses. And this may seem pretty obvious. Like, you're probably thinking,
Odetta, what? Is that what you have to tell us? That's not special.
But hear me out. The thing is, we rarely spend what we plan to, and we rarely spend on what we intended to purchase or procure. I realized this, rockstars, when in my 20s, I decided, after I couldn't understand where my money was going, I was gonna figure it out by collecting every single receipt, no matter how trivial it was. And I made a note, because you know there's some expenses that you don't get a receipt for, like the peanuts or the water that you buy when you're sitting in traffic. I made a note of all those expenses, and at the end of the month, I sat down and I calculated everything, and I was in shock. Now, in my 20s, I lived by a budget, and I was very conscious of my finances, but at the time, I was spending significantly more than I'd planned to. And recently I did the exercise again, and I was spending more than $600 per month more than I had projected in my budget. So it happens to the best of us rock stars. From the jackfruit that I buy, which by the way has increased significantly from the street vendor, but then I'll be driving on the roadway and see a plant vendor, and I don't have much space left in my garden, but I'll still buy a trunk load worth of plants and then come home and try to figure out where I'm gonna put them. All these impulsive or even calculated expenses that were not in my budget, they add up. And rock stars, I promise you that this is happening to you. You think you know where your money is going, but until you do this exercise, you have absolutely no clue. And I want you to come back under this video and write for me, I was shocked, because I know when you do it, the results are gonna shock you. The thing is, all these seemingly small amounts can add up pretty quickly and eat away at your pay before you even realize it. Financial planning, it's not a set it and forget it scenario. You don't write down that budget and then never go back and update it, or you don't plan to spend some money and then when you spend more, you don't go back and hold yourself accountable. Without that, it's just numbers on papers and you're really not managing your money properly. So now that you have the realization of what your real expenses are, let's move on to step 2. Take those receipts and those notations of the expenses that you're actually incurring. You can download my budget template that's on my website, and I'll put the link in the description of this video, or you can get one free on the internet, and you need to start tracking your expenses. The advantage of my budget template is it already lists the majority of popular expenses that the average person will incur, and it buckets them as well based on the 50-30-20 rule, which I'll tell you about in a second. It also provides space for you not just to project what you're gonna spend, but when you accumulate those receipts and have those notes of what your actual spending is, it provides space for you to put in what you actually spent, and then it uses formula to tell you where you're overspending, where you're falling short. So it's very easy for you to spot the issues and fix them. Because rockstars, frankly, a budget is useless if you don't go back and update it with the actual spend versus what you say you're gonna spend. Otherwise, it's just numbers on paper. Now, the 50-30-20 rule is what I encourage you to start with. The guidelines suggest that you should allocate 50% of your income to your needs. That is housing and food specifically. So your mortgage or rent or your groceries. 30% should go to your wants, and this is like dining or your hobbies, those things that you can actually live without, and 20% must go to your savings or to repay debt or loans that you have outstanding. Now, my personal formula that I developed over time has that 20% that's going to savings and debt being 50%, but that takes time. Start with 20. When you master that, then you can increase your savings and your debt payment and work towards being debt free, because that's when your paycheck is gonna really be able to work for you, because you will be able to stretch it for as far as you want it to go. And if you can't stretch it, later on I'll tell you exactly what to do to make sure you achieve that financial independence that most of us are pursuing. Now, after you have allocated your expenses and you look at the needs versus wants versus savings or debt repayment bucket, if any particular one is above the 50-30 or 20%, immediately you should do an assessment. And in doing so, you need to develop a plan where you can allocate your expenses better based on the bucket. And I'm going to share some methods later in this video that you can use to get those percentages in alignment. And this next step is one of them, rock stars. One of the reasons why you may be broke on payday is because you have too many debts, too many loans, too many credit card balances that you are trying to maintain. You should consider consolidating your debts. And the objective is to streamline all the money that you owe and in essence pay significantly less per month, which means it's going to increase your cash flow and allow that paycheck to stretch a little bit more. By consolidating, you're often able to secure or negotiate and get a lower interest rate, and this may be with another financial institution and not the one that has your loans. With a consolidated loan, you'll also be able to clear debts faster, because with a lower payment that comes from a lower interest rate, you'll be able to either increase the amount you're paying back, or you'll find that, as an example, consolidating or even refinancing a credit card, which I also recommend, which means that you take your credit card balance where you're paying anywhere from 20 to 40% per year in interest, which is a lot of money, rock stars, and you get a loan at 5 to 7% in interest, maybe 10 if it's unsecured. You pay off that credit card balance, so now you're paying back that loan, and instead of that 20 to 40% in interest that you are paying back per month in minimum payments or average payments, you are now paying a lower loan amount, and that credit card is no more. Let's say you have a credit card and you have $10,000 outstanding on it, and the interest rate is 20%, which is actually low. Your monthly payment would be about $400. Let's say you have a vehicle loan and the principal that's on your loan is $20,000 and your interest rate per year that you had agreed to was 8%. It means that you're paying for 5 years $400 per month for your vehicle payment. Let's say you have a mortgage and a student loan, and they kind of are on the same terms, and the amount between both of them is about $150,000. The interest rate is 5%, which means that your monthly payments, if you are assuming 30 years to pay off that mortgage and that student loan, will be about $805. So between your credit card at $400, your vehicle at $400, and your mortgage and student loan at $805, it's costing you $1,605 every month to service debt. Now let's imagine a situation where you have refinanced your credit cards, you have refinanced some of those loans and negotiated lower interest rates, and you have consolidated all these debts into one loan at an overall more favorable rate. With your credit card balance being $10,000, your vehicle payment being $20,000, and your mortgage/student loan being $150,000, it means your loan amount would be $180,000. And depending on where you live, this interest rate may vary, and likely if you live in a developing nation like myself, it will be significantly higher. But negotiate. Let's use as an example 4.5% in interest per year from whatever it is that you were paying when you do this refinancing and this consolidation. Instead of paying $1,605 per month, your payment would be $912 per month. It means that every single month you would be saving $693 through consolidation and refinancing. At $693 per month in savings, that equates to $8,300 per year, and over a 30-year period, that's $248,000. And listen, rockstars, this is just a pure amount accumulated over time. We're not including compound interest, because that would actually triple, and I don't know, quadruple, what's the next term? I don't know, but you know what I mean? It would increase your amount that you are able to save significantly because you reconsolidated and refinanced your debts. Now, the fourth step is one that you must master to stop being broke on payday. You need to learn to say no. If you really want to break free of the cycle of being broke, no needs to be a frequent word that you use in your vocabulary. And you know what? No is a full sentence. You can say no, full stop, instead of
No, I don't feel like going to the restaurant this weekend.
and all kind of reasons. Now, saying no may be the hardest step of all that I'm going to talk about here because it often involves emotional and social factors. We all know how easy it is to give in to pressure, and this desire to not miss out, or FOMO, the fear of missing out, will result in us going out for expensive meals with friends or going to the all-inclusive party and using up 50% of our paycheck and then wondering why we're broke. Buying the latest smartphone just because everyone else has it are things that you need to start saying no to. Yes, you need to learn to say no, not just to your friends out there, but also to yourself. Here's a simple exercise that you can do. The next time you're tempted to make an impulsive purchase, as an example, pause for a moment and ask yourself these questions. Question number 1, do I really need this? Question number 2, is there a more affordable option? Question number 3, can this money be better used elsewhere, such as for saving or investing? If the answer to these questions results in you reconsidering, then your answer should probably be no, full stop. Remember, rock stars, each no is not a denial of pleasure, but a step closer to your financial freedom. Say no to brokenness, and I want you to write that in the comments, rock stars, to reaffirm this point. Now, the 5th step that you can take to stop being broke on payday is to cut unnecessary expenses. I'm talking about things like the $5 coffee that amounts to $1,825 per year in expenditure, or all the subscriptions that you have, whether it's for the streaming service or that other app over there that you don't even remember you subscribe for, or your impulse purchases like I shared earlier. Just wait a day or 2 before making a purchase because it can save unnecessary spending. Now, the 6th step is to pay yourself first. If you have savings, you cannot be broke. And when you pay yourself first, you take out what it is that you're saving that you will have access to and have at your disposal. One way you can do this is to automate your savings through salary deductions. As an example, most banks will do automatic transfers or they'll do standing orders, and this will allow you to effortlessly move money into your savings account every single time you get paid. Listen, rock stars, if you have savings, you can't really be broke on payday because you always have money in your arsenal. What I like about automating your savings, and what I do is I have it go into an account that I don't have internet banking access to, is I'll put it there and forget it. Out of sight, out of mind. Now, the next step that you can take is to pay down your high interest debts. These are debts like credit cards that typically have a 20 to 40% interest rate because they can quickly eat away at your paycheck when you get it. Make it a priority to pay off these high interest debts as fast as is possible. Let's say that you have a $1,000 balance on your credit card with an annual interest rate of 19%. And compared to some of what exists in Jamaica, that's pretty low actually. If you were to make minimum payments of $25 per month, and this is US or the equivalent, you'll end up paying nearly $900 in interest over 7 years. But if you were to make a payment, as an example, of $100 per month instead of $25 by paying down those credit cards and putting more money into it, you would be debt-free in only 1 year and save over $700 in interest. Rockstars, it's a no-brainer. Obviously, if you can be debt-free in a year, you're gonna have more disposable income when you get your pay because you will not have to service the credit card or these high interest loans. Now, step 8, now that you have your budget, you have taken some steps to eliminate some of the expenses that you have been incurring, and you're managing your money a little bit better, you are able to set financial goals, because you know that financial independence and eventually financial freedom is your objective. Having clear goals can actually motivate you to stick to a financial plan because it gives you a good why. Rockstars, it was financial goal setting why I could retire from working for corporate and working for people at age 42, which is now a few years ago. My first big goal was to be debt-free by age 45. And my second big goal was to retire at 45 financially free, earning anywhere from 10 to 20,000 US dollars per month. So Rockstars, I did the math and I determined what I needed to accumulate to earn in a passive way $10 to $20,000 per month. I didn't have a clear line of sight, but you know what? I didn't need it. I just needed to get started. So I grabbed paper, I grabbed my vision board, and I started to list and document visually exactly what it is that I wanted to achieve by age 45. At the time, I wanted to have at least 2 million US dollars in the bank. And looking back now, I'm thinking, my God, Odetta, that's not a lot of money. But back then, it was enough to give me $11,600 per month when invested in a bond, whether I got out of bed or not. So I had to deploy a plan using index funds, real estate, businesses, and side hustles to accumulate that money. And because I was in my 20s, I had about 20 years to do so. A part of my plan back then was to have at least 4 rental properties, and each would pay me about $1,500 per month, which is about 6,000 US dollars per month for all 4. A part of the financial goals was also to launch a business that would pay me about $5,000 per month or more, which means that when you add the investment into bonds, the real estate, and the business, I would be making $22,000 per month. Rockstars, I was supposed to retire at 45. I retired at 42. And that was only possible because I carefully documented those goals, which gave me a why, and I executed accordingly. If you don't have clearly documented financial goals that you're working towards and a plan of action to get there, you're acting blindly and you will always be broke, not just on payday, but also when you retire. Now, earlier I mentioned that if you're doing all these things and you still don't have enough money, step 9 is what you need to do next. You need to seek additional income sources and diversify your income. You may be broke on payday because you're not making enough money, and no matter how you squeeze and pull and budget and say no, you still don't have enough. That's an indication to seek other sources of income, because as I've said in several videos, thou shalt not have one stream of income. Never underestimate the power of a side hustle, Rockstars. Many of my side hustles turned into full-fledged profitable businesses, some of which I'm managing to date. Listen, whether it's YouTube, freelancing, print on demand, selling crafts, tutoring, or using your skills and monetizing them, an additional source of income can help accelerate your financial goals and stop you from being broke on payday. So here's what you're gonna do. Today, you're gonna start a side hustle and stop looking for the lofty side hustles that pay a lot of money. You can do that later on. Today, I just want you to start something basic. Let's say you start doing inexpensive surveys and you're able to knock a few out in a day and make only $20 per day. Let's say you launch your faceless YouTube channel and it's gonna take some time, but you get it to a point where you're only making $30 per day. Not more than that, Rockstars. Between your surveys and your YouTube channel, after a while, you'll be able to make $50 per day, which is $1,500 per month. What I would encourage you to do is to invest your side hustle money, whether it's from surveys, tutoring, YouTube, or otherwise. At $1,500 per month invested in an index fund, and this is a diversified index fund, so it's a little bit safer. And if you do so so for 15 years with an interest rate of only 7%, because I'm in index funds right now that's paying me upwards of 9% with not as much risk as you would anticipate. But at $1,500 per month, after 15 years, you would have accumulated $480,000. So not only will you not be broke on payday because you'll have this money available to you, but you'll also put things in place for when you retire. If you only do it for 10 years, just put your side hustle money, which is $50 per day, into an index fund, it's $263,000. And for 5 years, it's $110,000. Just the comfort of knowing rock stars that you have money saved is a confidence booster. And obviously, you can't be broke on payday with money saved or invested. And the last step that I want you to take on this path to stop being broke on payday is to educate yourself. And this is with either financial literacy or with knowledge that you'll be able to monetize. By educating yourself about your own personal finances, you find that you're in a better situation to not just make money, but to keep it. Whether you're educating yourselves through books, online courses, or even workshops, understanding the basics of budgeting, investing, and savings, like I try to share here on this YouTube channel, which is education for the most part, this can significantly impact your financial health in a positive way. And until next time, walk good.